People usually think the pioneers of punk crawled out of a New York sewer fully formed and ready to destroy mainstream pop, but the most iconic chant in punk history actually came from a deep desire to compete with the Bay City Rollers. Tommy Ramone, the band's drummer, wanted a catchy stadium chant just like the one in the Rollers' hit Saturday Night, and the actual words for the chant popped into his head while he was walking home carrying a bag of groceries. He was also thinking of the Rolling Stones covering a Rufus Thomas track where Mick Jagger's weird pronunciation made the lyrics sound a bit like "hey ho." The story gets a little messy when you look at who actually wrote the track. The rest of the band usually thought of themselves as the real songwriters, so when their drummer brought in the song originally titled Animal Hop, there were reportedly some bruised egos. But they ended up accepting it simply because they could not deny that it was a brilliant tune. The lyrics were just a vague snapshot of kids going crazy at a gig, but the bass player stepped in to supply the final title and randomly changed a line about fans shouting in the back to a line about shooting them in the back. It made absolutely no logical sense, but other accounts suggest nobody argued because it fit their chaotic and cartoonish vibe. Then there is the sheer weirdness of where this downtown racket was captured. Instead of a grimy basement, the band tracked their debut at Plaza Sound, a cavernous Art Deco studio on the 8th floor of Radio City Music Hall that used to broadcast symphony orchestras. They only had a budget of around $6,400, forcing them to finish tracking everything in about a week. To handle the breakneck speed of the playing, the engineer had to set up a visual metronome consisting of a flashing light in the drum booth, since a standard clicking audio track would bleed into the microphones at that tempo. That signature chainsaw sound was basically the result of stubbornness and physical endurance. Johnny Ramone practically refused to play upstrokes, relying almost entirely on a rapid down-picking technique on a cheap Maserati guitar plugged into a cranked Marshall amplifier. Since Joey Ramone apparently lacked precise pronunciation, the producer doubled his vocal tracks, creating a strangely thick, pop-flavored melody floating above the noise. The final mix even placed the bass heavily on the left channel and the guitar on the right, an odd choice that supposedly annoyed the band because they wanted a traditional mono mix to mimic early rock and roll records. Despite being incredibly catchy, the track was not exactly met with open arms by the record-buying public, stalling out far down the charts upon its initial release. Radio stations basically ignored them, assuming they were just dangerous hooligans looking for a fight. But when the band took the song to London in the summer of 1976, everyone from the Sex Pistols to The Clash was watching, and the entire English scene reportedly tripled their playing speed overnight.